to Shireen, who's now in conversation with Siddhartha Lal of Eicher Motors.
Us here in Davos on a very cold morning. It's what, minus 15 or minus 16 degrees? I don't know. I can't tell anymore. Is Siddhartha Lal of Royal Enfield bringing some colour to the otherwise pristine slopes here in Davos. Thanks very much for joining us, Siddhartha. I can't not start by asking you about what the outlook is as far as sales are concerned back home. You've actually been pretty resilient even through the demonetization phase, whether it's November or December. Sales were up about 40-odd% for you. What does the outlook look like from here on?
Yeah, it continues to look good, and this is the motorcycle side of the business.
Yes.
It's continuing to look very good. We have good order intakes. We had a backlog of orders, and that helped us in November and December because there was demonetization issues which affected our stores as well, but we had a big backlog of customers. So a lot of them came in, a lot of them used credit cards and all of that, and we were able to pull through those months. It took a lot of effort from our side as well. It didn't happen automatically.
Sure.
But yeah, so moving on, at least that effect is now reduced. And January, February, March should be in the normal course for Royal Enfield, which is still going pretty strong. So yeah, it's no worry at this point.
Okay, no worry at this point. But are you worried about the switchover to BS4 come the 1st of April? It's not just production, but also inventory. Has there been clarity on what you do with unsold inventory that's not BS4 compliant?
Yeah, there's pretty much good clarity throughout the supply chain ecosystem. So it's a matter of management, really. It's logistics and management. So it's not a worry. Again, it's something that we have to work hard towards to make sure we get it right, so make sure there's not too much redundancy or lost inventory and stuff like that. But it's really, minor management issues rather than major policy issues that we're after. In the trucks business, it's always a bit more tricky because maybe even the sales have been a bit more volatile there because of demonetization, and BS4 will also be a bit more tricky only because it's of a much larger scale and it's very different requirements, but we'll pull through. I'm not worried about it at all.
You're not worried about it, but I'll come to CVs in just a bit. What will the switchover, as well as the fact that we're actually now seeing commodity prices move up, what kind of implications will it have on margins for you?
Well, there are always, and in this case you're talking about two, we haven't seen anything on the commodity front, by the way.
Okay.
So switchover, yeah, we'll add more cost to our vehicles because of certain requirements, because of automatic headline pon, but that's brilliant because that actually,
it's a good thing.
It's a good thing. So, we'll figure it out. We have pressures for margins to make the margins, tighter, and then there are other things we're doing to improve our margins. So it's not a big worry at all again. So it's all in the normal course. So none of these things which you're talking about are really out of the normal course of business. We take it in our stride and we keep moving forward. Yeah.
What about the CV side? Are you seeing things sort of return to some degree of normalcy there because sales were down, about 20-odd% for the month of December?
Yeah, so that's always a bit trickier. It's much more competitive in our case as well. And we don't know. I mean, it could be a case of quite a bit of pre-buying in January, February, March before the BS4 norm comes in and the trucks become much more expensive, right? Or quite a bit more expensive. So typically in other markets, in India and previous switchovers, we've seen a bit of pre-buying. So there could be a bit of a pre-buying spurt in Jan, Feb, March, but who knows? We'll see.
Okay, let me ask you now, you finally have an Indian competitor. You've so far been dealing with foreign competitors. You now have an Indian competitor. How does that change the landscape for you with the Dominar being launched?
For us, we don't see, firstly, too many people we don't see other motorcycles as competitors as such. We think of everyone as part of the larger community of motorcycling. So it's a very modern, business thing to see everyone as, hard competitors.
Collaborators.
Yeah, but that's not how we look at it. I mean, we think that if we can grow the size of the market, of the leisure motorcycle market, that's brilliant. We're the absolute leaders there. We have 95%.
Yeah.
Well, in above 250cc, we're 95%. So there will be other players, and they're welcome to join us in our party, and hopefully they'll bring something else on the table.
What else are you bringing to the table? What can we expect now in terms of the new launches, refreshed models, a new platform in the second half of FY18?
You know a lot more than I do. Well, not a lot more than I would tell you, but. We have a lovely new Reddit series which has just come out. It's our upgrade of our classics. We've got interesting, relatively newer things coming out the course of this year. But if you step back, we've actually done a huge amount of rethinking over the last 8 to 12 months because of the impending BS6 norms which have been notified now in 2020. And that's not far away actually,
No,
as far
it's
as we're
not.
concerned. So to create full new platforms which are BS6 compliant, which is a very, very different technology requirement, we've had to change a lot of our existing product plans to meet those futuristic requirements. So all that rejig is done. We've expanded tremendously in our UK tech center, where we've got much more than we planned. We have around 100 people already in our Leicester tech center, going up to 120 in the next few months. So we're doing a lot of our lead engineering there. We've got, of course, our Chennai tech center, which has got a few hundred people as well. So huge amount of engineering work going on. You are going to see a lot of fun products in the coming year as well. Well, we're already in the coming year, so in 2017.
Yeah, exactly. So how soon?
Yeah, I mean, you never know with products, so I can't say, but within a year's time, you should see.
Bigger than what you're currently doing?
Well, yeah, you'll see, really cool stuff. So can't tell you much more right now.
How much bigger?
Well, let's just say that amongst other things, what we're working towards is our international markets, right? So we've been slowly making an entry. We've been working on our distribution and our brand right now. So we've got lovely stores in places like Jakarta, Bangkok, and quite a few in Colombia. We're entering Brazil. This is in addition to our US, UK, Europe, which we've traditionally been present in. So what we've been doing is building our brand, understanding the markets, doing rides, events, all those kind of things.
So what is the aspiration then as far as the international markets are concerned? I won't even ask you over the next few years. Say by 2020, what will the contribution be from international markets
2020
for you?
doesn't change too much.
No?
Well, hopefully it'll change and it'll improve, and it will. But then India's growing very fast as well, right?
Yeah.
So we don't worry about contribution on our overall revenue. What we look at is, are we relevant in that market? So we talk about, because we think the mid-sized motorcycle market is totally underserved in a lot of these markets, and that's where we're trying to get relevant. So the first stage we want to be at is to become a sustainable player. People look at us, people understand what Royal Enfield's about. There's a market for it. The second is to become big in the middleweight market. And the third is to lead the middleweight market in any country like we're going to Colombia. It's a while away. It's 5, 6, 8 years away. And in a 10-year horizon, we want to be, a substantial player in the motorcycle market by growing the middleweight market. So in markets like Colombia and Brazil and Indonesia and Thailand, where it's still largely a commuter market, they're slightly more advanced of India. It's not 100cc, maybe it's 150, maybe it's 200cc, but they're still commuter markets. What we want to do is graduate them to a leisure motorcycle market. But a leisure motorcycle that's practical and fun to use in your daily commute. That's where our success has come from in India, and hopefully we can do that in other emerging markets as well.
So what is the headroom then as far as the Indian market is concerned, given the fact that you're sort of pushing this aspiration globally as well? You've got international and now domestic players trying to expand the space that you operate in. What would the headroom for growth be?
There's no telling, honestly, Shireen, because when we were setting up our plant, and that anecdote just occurred to me, we were setting up our plant in 2010, our Oragadam plant. At that time, we took a 50-acre plant, and we figured that it's going to last us for the next 20 years, right? Because we could do 600,000 capacity. Within 3 years, that capacity got filled up, and we're now starting another plant in Vallamvargal. So really, right now we're on a roll. So if you extrapolate, we can grow tremendously fast, but you can't extrapolate. We have to keep doing new things. We have to keep things moving forward. So right now, as a part of the overall motorcycle market, we're nearly 5% or 4%, 5% of the motorcycle market in India. No CCs involved here. And I think there's a lot of headroom because people are graduating up. They are seeing the value of a motorcycle that they can use on a daily basis, and they can use on a on leisure purpose. And the thing is, we haven't really scratched the surface of making it even more accessible from a perspective of things like financing and
How much of the portfolio today is on the back of finance for you?
That's what,
between
for us,
30 and 40%?
Yeah, it's very low for us. It's
Yeah.
30-40%, and very often we get chaps just coming in and swiping a credit card, right? And we believe we can grow the market. We know our customers, we know our aspiring customers. We still have if you look at our brand recall and our brand equity and our share of searches online and all of that, we're way over 10%, 15%, 20% in some cases in some of these metrics. So it means, let's say 10 to 20% of people are primarily thinking of us, but then they're buying something else because of various reasons why they're not buying us. So as we make our motorcycle, on the one hand, more accessible, which means things like financing or maybe new motorcycles. So today he likes Royal Enfield, he's a non-rejecter, but maybe not our current model range. So maybe we'll get into new model in the future. We'll say, okay, that one's interesting. So as we make our brand a little bit more accessible, as people's incomes go.
Okay, well, that is Siddhartha Lal in conversation with Shireen all the way in Davos.